Hello, my dear students. Today, let's take a class on the topic My Greatest Olympic Prize. My Greatest Olympic Prize is written by J.C. Waynes, who is an American long jumper, and he had participated in 1930 Summer Olympics, which were held in Berlin, the capital city of Germany. And being only a single player, he had bagged 4 gold medals in these Olympic Games. And you know that nowadays a number of countries are participating in Olympic Games, but not a single country sometimes get a new gold medal, even a silver medal. But J.C. Waynes, the only player, he had got 4 gold medals in 1936 Summer Olympics. Now let us go into the text. It was the summer of 1936. The Olympic Games were being held in Berlin because Adolf Hitler childishly insisted that his performers were members of a master race. Nationalistic feelings were at an all-time high. It was the summer of 1936. Olympic Games were being held in Berlin, the capital city of Germany. At that time, the supreme leader, the sovereign leader, the dictator, the tyrant leader of Germany was Adolf Hitler. He was not the chancellor of Germany, because a chancellor is generally an elected person, but he had occupied power by force, and therefore he was a dictator. He ruled over Germany according to his own idiosyncrasies and according to his own whims and fancies, and he was so arrogant, so haughty, so presumptuous. And Adolf Hitler childishly insisted, meaning childishly averred that, childishly emphasized that, childishly claimed that his performers were members of a master race. Hitler said that the Germans belong to a master race. Of all the peoples in the world, the Germans are the best people. Of all the peoples in the world, the Aryans are the best people. And among the Aryans, the Germans are the best Aryans. In this way, Hitler claimed that the Germans belonged to a master race, meaning they were superior to all other nations. And because German players belonged to a master race, they would definitely bag all the gold medals in 1936 Summer Olympic Games. And these corrosive remarks, these hurting remarks, these acerbic remarks of Adolf Hitler aroused patriotism among all other players who had gone there to participate in the 1936 Olympic Games. And here the writer says, nationalistic feelings were at an all-time high. Nationalistic feelings meaning patriotism, allegiance to one's country, love for one's country. And all the players, they exposed their chauvinism towards Hitler, the tyrant leader Hitler, and their love of country, their patriotic feelings were at an all-time high, meaning their patriotism was at the pinnacle, was at the topmost position, was at the crest, was at the peak. Despite the presumptuous or insolent remarks of Adolf Hitler, the writer was not at all worried. He says, I wasn't too worried about all this. I wasn't too worried about all this. He was silent, he was humble, he was very meek, and he did not raise a complaint against Hitler's corrosive remarks, hurting remarks, high-handed remarks. He says, I wasn't too worried about all this. He was not at all worried. He was not at all perturbed. He was not at all perplexed. He was not broken-hearted. He was strong-minded. He says, I had trained, sweated, and disciplined myself for 6 years with the games in mind. The writer had undergone training for 6 years. He had worked hard. He had strained hard. He had labored hard. He had disciplined himself. He had learned what is discipline. He had learned how to command over himself. He had learned how to control his mind. He had learned how to exercise his willpower and self-command. So he was not at all worried. He had undergone training for 6 years, keeping in view the 1936 Summer Olympic Games. His father says that while I was going over on the boat, all I could think about was taking home one or two of those gold medals. He was coming to Germany from America by boat. Actually, he was not coming by boat. It was a vessel. It was a ship. It was a passenger ship, and it generally takes 10 to 15 days to reach Germany from the United States of America. And during those days, during his pelagic journey in the ocean, and he was thinking that I would definitely take one or two gold medals home from the 1936 Summer Olympics. He says that all I could think was about taking home one or two of those gold medals. Meaning he was so confident, he was so strong-minded that he was bent upon taking one or two gold medals to his home from 1936 Summer Olympics. He was so much optimistic about his efficiency, proficiency, and dexterity. He says, I had my eye especially on the long jump. I had fixed my concentration. I had focused on long jump because he was an outstanding long jumper. He had firm confidence in himself. He had faith in himself. He had his confidence, his faith in himself was so great, and he was so optimistic that he says that I had my eye especially on the long jump, and therefore he had targeted long jump, and from long jump, in long jump he would definitely bag a gold medal, and this was his optimism and strong confidence in himself. He says, a year before, as a university student, I had set the world record of 26 feet 8 and 1 by 4 inches. He says, when you are a student of university, in the university sports, perhaps it may be the annual sports of the university or the sports held at the university level, he had jumped 26 feet 8 and 1 by 4 inches in long jump, and it was a world record. Because he had set a world record, even it was a greater record than the Olympic records, so he had confidence in himself. He was so much optimistic, he was so much hopeful that he would definitely win, definitely bag an Olympic gold medal in long jump. And also therefore, everyone kind of expected me to win that Olympic event hands down. And because he had set the world record by jumping 26 feet 8 and 1 by 4 inches, everybody, all the people of the United States of America expected him to win the gold medal in Olympic long jump hands down, meaning easily, without any special effort. But everything went topsy-turvy. When he came to the stadium, I was in for a surprise. The moment he got into the stadium, he was surprised, he was stupefied, he was astonished, he was petrified to see a tall boy jumping about 26 feet in his trial jumps. He says, I was in for a surprise. When the time came for the long jump trials, I was startled to see a tall boy hitting the feet at almost 26 feet on his practice slips. Startled means stupefied, astonished, surprised, amazed, and petrified. He was startled means he was surprised, he was astonished to see a tall boy hitting the feet at almost 26 feet on his practice slips. Lips meaning jumps, on his trial jumps, on his qualifying jumps. A tall German boy was jumping about 26 feet, and his high performance, his spectacular performance of jumping 26 feet in his trial jumps surprised, astonished the writer J.C. Owens. Previously, J.C. Owens didn't have any knowledge of the German long jumper Lutz Lang. His name was Lutz Lang, and he says that he turned out to be a German named Lutz Lang. He perhaps asked the people who were watching the game there. He got to know that the boy who was jumping 26 feet in trial jumps, his name was long jump, and he was the German long jumper. I was told that Hitler had kept him under wraps. Also, the people told him that Hitler had kept his identity unexposed, secret, or hidden. Hitler had not exposed his identity, the identity of German long jumper Lachlan, because Hitler was quite confident that his long jumper Lachlan would win the gold medal in 1936 Summer Olympics. Hitler had kept him under wraps, meaning Hitler had kept his identity under secret. He had not revealed, he had kept his identity unexposed and unrevealed, hoping that his performer, his long jumper Lachlan would win the gold medal in long jump at the Olympic Games. The writer says that I supposed that if Lang won, it would add some new support to the Nazis' Aryan superiority theory. Hitler's insolent remarks, Hitler's presumptuous remarks did not perplex, did not worry the writer, but he was slightly broken-hearted. He thinks that I suppose that if Lang won, the writer thought that if Lachlan wins in the long jump, then it would add some new support to the Nazis' Aryan superiority theory. Nazi is the political party formed by Hitler. It was a tyrant party, and the Nazis, the members of Nazis were were under the behest of the dictator Hitler, and they cultivated an idea. Their ideal was the Aryan superiority theory. The Aryans, meaning the German people, who were considered to be the best Aryans, they are considered to be superior to all other nations, all other people. Aryan superiority theory. And the writer thought that if Lachlan wins, the Aryan superiority theory would definitely gain ground, definitely gain some more support. So he thinks that after all, I am a Negro. He is so humble, he is so much obedient, he is so much submissive, he is so much simple that he says, I am a Negro. I belong to a class of black people in European countries called Negro, and generally the Negroes are underestimated by the white people. And he says, a little hot under the collar, meaning the writer was slightly angry, he was slightly disgusted, he was slightly displeased, he was annoyed at the Hitler's inhuman remarks, Hitler's hurtful remarks, Hitler's presumptuous remarks. And he says that a little hot under the collar, meaning he was just angry, he was dissatisfied about Hitler's ways, about Hitler's temperament, about Hitler's mindset, and he thinks he was very much strong-minded at that time because of Hitler's ill manners, Hitler's behavior. That he says that I determined to go there, and he was resolved, he was bent upon, he took a strong decision that I would go into the stadium and really saw Dorfführer. Dorfführer is the German word meaning leader of Germany. Here the word Dorfführer refers to the tyrant dictator Hitler, and the writer was resolved, the writer was determined, he took a strong decision, he resolved that I would definitely exhibit, I would definitely demonstrate, I would display, I would prove before the dictator Adolf Hitler and his master race who was superior and who was. And this is all about the first unit of the topic, my greatest Olympic prize. And this video is especially for the advanced students, and if you like it, then you subscribe and share it with your friends. Thanking all of you once again.